Greetings, legendary readers. Welcome to Larry's Legendary Library, where I explore science fiction, fantasy, and other bits and bobs. This is my son, Ethan, and today we are going to talk about A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Guin, which we did as a buddy read. There will be spoiler warnings for this book. So if you haven't read the book and you want to avoid spoilers, you might want to come back to this video after you've read the book. I'm going to say something about Ethan and my experience with reading, and then I'm going to give it to Ethan to talk about some things, and then we'll go through the book. So with that said, my experience with reading with Ethan, he and I read Hyperion and really loved the book, especially the first two books for me. And then the second two books, I kind of gave out, but Ethan kind of encouraged me to push on through, and I'm so glad I did. But so I credit Ethan with really getting me back into reading after I'd given up for a bit. And then my second experience was with an Ursula K. Guin, The Left Hand of Darkness. I started reading it and thought it was boring and was gonna DNF it, and Ethan kept after me, kept after me, and then I finally started at the beginning, read it all the way through, and I'm so glad I did, because now it's a top 10 read for me. So anyway, I'll turn it over. Ethan?
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm glad to be on Larry's Legendary Library today. It's a lot of fun for me to come and visit and hang out in Dad's library. We share a lot of similar interests when it comes to reading, so coming here is a real treat, and I don't have to buy as many books, so that's a lot of fun. But yeah, Hyperion was a big turning point for me in getting back into reading kind of post-college. I was doing a little bit of trail building some hiking trails, and I love nature writing books, and I was going to read them at nighttime in my tent, and decided that I had enough nature that day, and so I wanted something to kind of escape a little bit, and Hyperion ended up being that book. And then I think it was Dad's recommendation to get into Hyperion, and then I really dug in and enjoyed it and read the whole series. And then Left Hand of Darkness, when I read that, it absolutely rocked me. It was so good and so ahead of its time. And I would read anything by Ursula K. Guin because of that book. And so I'm glad that I pressured Dad into finishing it. Maybe it was a little bit of a slow start, but then it just opens up into an incredible book and an incredible world. So while we're here, I might go ahead and show my book. So Dad showed his copy of his Wizard of Earthsea.
Did I say the illustrator?
I don't think so.
Okay, Ruth Robbins. I'll show it again, and it does wrap around. So there's that. So Ruth Robbins, the illustrator, and a nice copy.
So on the polar opposite kind of point of view, I have this tome illustrated by Charles Vess. This was a gift from my sister. I knew that I was going to want to read the books of Earthsea at one point, and it's really neat. There's some beautiful art. Let's see if I can hold this up so you can see that. So it really adds to the immersion of this copy. Kind of a special copy that, for the sentiment, as it was a gift, but also because there's some really neat illustrations, and it just kind of adds to it. Here's another cool illustration of one of the islands. I think this is the Isle of Gaunt, where our main character Ged is from, and I think it just adds to it. So I do like the older copies. They're a little more easy to read, just for its size standpoint, but it is cool to look at the illustrations. I think Charles Vess did an amazing job, and I look forward to reading some the rest of the series so I could see some more of these unique and beautiful illustrations.
Yeah. So before we actually jump in this synopsis, did you want to tell them about your shirt?
Oh yeah. So I wanted to plug this music artist. They go by Fog Weaver, and it's a dungeon synth, like fantasy music artist. And I actually fell in love with the artist before I realized that all their music is inspired by the Earthsea series. And so I had some friends give me this shirt for my birthday, and it made it all the more fun when I realized that all the songs, all the album covers, everything is just inspired by the Wizard of Earthsea. Looks like that's probably good. And
Evolved.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I just want to do a quick plug, and I'll have Dad put a link in to their Spotify, because it just, for me, it really adds to the immersion of listening to some nice fantasy music that blends really well with that's inspired by our world that we now love. So.
Okay, well, we'll jump into the book now after that long opening. I think one thing we both loved about the book was the world building and just the Earthsea. You know, the title talks about earth and sea, but it's primarily sea with small islands and just the different islands, the different types of islands, and it was just created a nice atmosphere, the ships, the water, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the weather seemed to be a big thing. Yeah. A big part of the magic system. These people use watercraft as their main form of transportation to go to trade with other islands, and it kind of creates this really lovely, whimsical world of each of these kind of unique islands, and you kind of have to get to them via watercraft, and each one is unique, and I think that makes it fun. But also something that I like about Ursula K. Guin's writing in this book specifically is some of the small things too, like describing the landscape, describing like plants that are both fictitious and ones that we would recognize. For me, being a big nature person, it adds to my love of the book. It's a easy to love book for me.
Yeah. It's just incredible, and probably that's one of the things I love most about any book I read is just the quality of the world building, and Ursula K. Le Guin certainly doesn't disappoint. There's a certain coming of age aspect to this story. We start with Dunny, our protagonist, main character. That's his given name. His mom dies when he's young, and he's raised by his father, who's what in today's society would be viewed as abusive, and so there is that aspect of it. Just he goes to wizard school, and so there is a certain coming of age aspect to it. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, he has his humble beginnings, and there's something special about Dooney and Ged, and is recognized by
John.
And so he kind of gets into mischief when he figures out that he has some predisposed to some of these magical things, and he has that interaction with the witch on Gaunt, where he learns a few things, and then it's decided that he needs some proper training.
Yeah.
After that, because he has that predisposition.
Yeah, and he at a certain age, I'm not sure if it says in the book, but as a young youth. He's given his true name, Ged, by Ogion, and then he travels with Ogion because Ogion's going to be his mentor. And after a period of time, Ogion doesn't train like Dunny expects or Ged expects, and it's kind of boring. Ogion is silent; he doesn't talk much. Uh, and then finally, Dunny decides to go off to, was it Roke? Is that the name of the
Yes.
wizard school? And he goes off to Roke where he can get, in his mind, proper training.
Yeah, because Ged, he is a restless youth. He's not moving quite as fast as he would like with Ogion, and so Ogion gives him the option to stay with him, train with him, or go to Roke to this school, and ultimately he decides to do that.
Yeah.
He does circle back later and come back to his former master, and gives him some good wisdom later down the line. So he doesn't just leave and forget his old master Ogion.
Yeah, I do think it was probably obvious. It was obvious to me, and I think probably most people reading the book would say, "Oh, this is a mistake. You should stay with Ogion." But he does come back around and realize the value of that early training, even though he didn't realize it at the time. But you want to talk about some of the characters?
Yeah, we got when he gets to this wizard school on Roke, he kind of has a tough beginning. He has a chip on his shoulder. He's got that restlessness, and then he has this kind of this skill that's getting nurtured, but he also gets kind of goaded into doing some reckless things by his early kind of boyhood nemesis Jasper. Gets into a bunch of trouble. There's some big events regarding him being pushed to get into a territory that he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
With his magic wise.
Yeah.
Vetch, reliable, lovely, very supportive friend. Kind of supports Ged from the beginning and continues on later in the book as well.
Yeah. Vetch was a neat character. I really enjoyed him. I guess we could talk about the shadow. Ethan was talking about where Ged is goaded into doing something. I believe he's trying to like raise a dead person or something, but in the process he releases this shadow, and the shadow comes at him and is to disastrous results. But anyway, I guess that's the point where Nemmerly comes in, and Nemmerly is one of the main wizards. I guess he's the archwizard at the time.
Archmage, maybe.
Archmage, yeah. And he ultimately gives his life to save Ged from the shadow,
and since once like that moment was a pivotal point for Ged, because Ged gives into his pride, gives into the goading by Jasper. He has this big event and releases this shadow and gives his life, and then after that, Ged is absolutely rocked with grief and like
guilt.
Guilt is the word I was looking for. He's absolutely racked with guilt, and really kind of hampers his perception of himself. His confidence is rocked. He can't really he doesn't really think highly of himself after the fact, because he did this terrible thing and his pride got the better of him, and it takes a long time for him to kind of circle back to any form of confidence. But it was an important moment in his trajectory, kind of into his into becoming the wizard that he will become later in the book.
Yeah.
But that was like a very formative moment.
Yeah. Yeah. He starts off kind of arrogant and cocky and, you know, a little bit full of himself. He had early success taking on invaders to his island as a youth. And then, you know, he takes some of that cockiness and then like when he's goaded by Jasper, he gets into something he shouldn't because of his attitude, but then he is humbled, and then as he's slowly built back up to have a proper attitude, you know, that building process can begin after he's humbled. Part of going on with different aspects of the story, Ged, you know, leaves the school, has some travels, and he does have a confrontation with a dragon, Yavowed, that I think was meaningful. This was after, you know, he was humbled and started to, you know, come back and try to have the right attitude to do the right things, and had a very interesting confrontation with the dragon. I do think, and this was one of the things I was going to talk about when we get to the themes, but one thing about Earthsea is, you know, some fantasy books are all about action and adventure, and there's certainly action adventure in this book, but then I think also it's more about the wisdom, the kind of the philosophy of how to use the magic and doing it properly, and I think that takes precedence over the action part. But I thought it was well done. Anything to add to that with the dragon or anything?
I think I was surprised how the dragon interaction probably wasn't a super long part of the book. It's a relatively short book. I thought that maybe the dragon would be a much larger presence in the first book, but I'm sure it'll expand further in the series. This is the first book from the Tales of Earthsea that I've read, so I can't speak on the ones in the future, but I'm looking forward to find out if it makes a return to our story.
Yeah. I'll definitely want to go on and read more. I enjoyed the book, but before we get to that, more with the synopsis, we have Sarah and Lord Benderesk. They come. Ged comes to their castle. He's actually saved by them in a sense, and then has some experiences as he's recuperating there. And Sarah is kind of this, I don't know, almost like a temptress, not just from physical attraction point of view, but she's trying to tempt him to use his powers in a way that may not be good. Mm-hmm. And then her husband, Lord Benderesk, is more kind of standoffish and not as much of an important character to Ged as Sarah is. Anything else on that you want to say?
Their motives seem at first, Sarah's especially, she doesn't seem to have bad motives or foul motives at first, and then as we kind of get into it, and I forget the name of the stone that they
I can't remember either.
And,
if I look it up, I'll put it a little to the screen.
But they have this motive. They want this stone activated, and they can't do it. They want Ged, this powerful wizard, to be able to do it, but it's not the right thing to do. And so when Ged figures that out, he flees, and it's kind of a harrowing story as he's being chased out of that place.
Yeah. And then I guess one other character that I'd like to bring up is Otak. It's this small animal. It's I don't know if you'd think of it like a squirrel or a small cat kind of thing. But it's its own animal. Uh,
I was thinking kind of like ferret or weaselly
yeah,
animal.
yeah, that probably is more like. And it's a very to me, it's almost like a touching
Bond.
relationship, yeah, bond
Hmm.
that he has. This Otak rides on his shoulder or in his coat pocket, and in a sense, it's kind of defenseless, and yet it's almost a companion for Ged. And I did really like uh, the dynamic between him and Otak.
Yeah, the OTEC, it kind of befriended him when he needed it at the wizard school. It kind of came in around there, used his, he has like a special like bonding ability with the animals that he learned from Gaunt from his early days. And later, he visits his friend and I Pekveri. It's a friend of Ged that they make, and it's nice. It's a nice friendship. They don't have this difference of this hierarchical kind of friendship. He doesn't see Ged as this. Doesn't look up to him. Doesn't put him on a pedestal necessarily. Like he does after he figures out that he's a wizard, but they have a much more level friendship. Um, but in regards to the OTAC and the scene that I'm thinking of is when um, Pekveri's child is very sick and about to die, and Ged goes to try to help his friend, try to help his friend's child, and in doing so, it was great expense to Ged's physical health, and he ends up in a more like
Coma,
comatose,
yeah.
yeah, comatose state. He's not really, he's out for the count for several days. And I think there's this really kind of sweet, lovely moment with the Otak when he sees his master, his friend, the Otak comes down and kind of starts licking at him, and that is what starts bringing him back to consciousness. And I really enjoyed that
Yeah,
scene with
yeah,
the
it's
Otak.
very touching. Uh, Another character we need to talk about is the Shadow. When Jasper goads Ged into using his powers in a way that he shouldn't, a shadow is released, and there's a violent interaction with Ged. He nearly loses his life. Nemmerly saves Ged at the expense of his own life, and so this obviously is a very just key moment in the book and in Ged's life. Uh, and the shadow uh, is on one hand the antagonist uh, and the enemy that Ged is fighting throughout the book, but on the other hand, the shadow, the deeper meaning is that it really represents that negative side of Ged, that the arrogance, the where he just jumps in and does things when perhaps he shouldn't, and being able to be goaded into doing things that he shouldn't, and the shadow embodies that aspect of Ged, and so throughout the rest of the book, there's kind of that Ged battling his shadow. Uh,
His internal struggle has become like a physical, tangible thing
yeah,
that's just dogs him for a long time, and it's a burden that he just drags around. He feels this presence all the time, nipping at his heels, like stalking him essentially, following him from island to island all over the world of Earthsea. And it's just this immense burden, it's this immense weight, and it's just dogging him. And he carries that for a long time, and until finally he's been on the run for a while from this kind of ever-present thing, and Ogion encourages him to face it and run it down, because he will have no rest until he faces his shadow. And that's what he ends up doing, is
right.
he decides to face the thing that's been just wearing him down, that kind of starts his trajectory into defeating his enemy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A key moment in the book with Ocean's wisdom, and it completely turns his life around, going from defensive to offensive and chasing it down. So as far as review goes, I had a similar experience with my Left-Handed Darkness book, and here I was partway through the book, and it was, I was thinking, man, L3 legit, but then it really started picking up, and it was more compelling reading for me, and I was invested and really enjoying the book. I wanted to see the outcome, and so ultimately I give A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Guin and L4 loaded. It is well worth reading. The world building, the characters, the deeper meaning, all was just an excellent read for me.
I think for me, it's pretty much from the get-go, I was invested. I love Ursula K. Le Guin's writing. I've read, I think, 4 other books by her, and I was very happy to be back in. This is really different from, the Left-Handed Darkness and the Dispossessed and some of the other ones that I've read, but I love the fantastical, the kind of fairy tale, fable, quest type writing. It's lovely detail, lovely nature and landscape, which is a big interest to me. I love, I've been also reading The Once and Future King by T.H. White, and there's some similarities in the kind of Arthurian tale, or at least the way it's written. I think it kind of is in a vein that's similar to that, or Chronicles of Narnia or The Hobbit. And so for me, from the get-go, invested. I'm giving it an L5
Wow.
for legendaries. I'm excited to dig into the other ones. I'll probably see how many more I can finish before the end of the year.
Well, great. An excellent rating. It's interesting because usually when we compare reading, my rating is usually higher than his, but in this case, it's reversed. So that's neat. And well, anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed the book. I'm glad I enjoyed the book, and would appreciate your feedback. Let us know what you think about this format. We may pull it out from time to time, review another book together, and just let us know what you think. Also, let us know what you think about Earthsea, the book itself. Any final thoughts before we close?
Just thanks for having me, Dad. It's been a lot of fun being on
Yes.
Larry's Legendary channel. We both have this shared love of sci-fi fantasy, so it's fun for me to be able to be on the channel and discuss some things that we love together.
Well, it's good to have you here. I've now had 2 of my 4 kids on my channel, so that's fun. I'll have to work out a way to get the other 2 on sometime.
2 more to go.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay legendary.
Legendary.